All right, you guys, I am so glad to be back here on the podcast on this new YouTube channel. And first, I just have to tell you guys, thank you so much for all of the reach outs that I've heard from you guys in this last week. Excited to hear where this podcast is going and so much love and support. And so I just want to tell you guys, I am so grateful for you guys. Thank you so much for just the support and also just letting me know how this work has touched you guys. It really does mean a lot to me, and it helps me to keep moving forward. So thank you so much for that. So I want to talk to you guys today about how our emotions can be very much the way that we handle them can be very much how we handle illness. And this is not all or nothing. This is just an analogy that came to my mind that is trying to figure out how to help you guys understand the importance of us feeling our emotions. Because as many of you guys know, my work has always been about thought work for so many years. I had anxiety seizures about 8 years ago, 9 years ago. I think about 8 years ago. I think it was 9 years ago. I can't remember now, but it's been a while. I had them a long time ago. Let's just go with that. And it was a life-altering circumstance that happened. And it was basically my body telling me, like, Chantel, you trying to outthink, trying to be logical, trying to understand everything is coming at a cost. And my body was basically telling me, like, you got to do this in a different way. And so my journey to becoming more emotionally resilient, having a capacity to feel my emotions has been just that. It's been a journey. And I find that there's a lot of people that when we start to talk about emotion work, they really can get very uncomfortable very, very quickly. But yet we also know that there is so much value in being able to listen to our heart more, to listening to our emotions, because they're here for a reason. Like if we were not meant to have emotions, we would be robotic. And I know so many people think that that would be a game changer and it would be so amazing. But I would also say that that's not true. We don't want to be robots, and we are meant to have emotions, because I think emotions as being the colors of our life. And the more we suppress it, I think that's when we create so many problems for ourselves. And so my journey of trying to become more emotionally resilient has it's been a struggle, but I see why it's been a struggle for me, because I have seen in the world so many people talk about emotions in a way that, and I say this with so much love and care, but it's been so woo. It's been so out there for me that it has built very, very intangible. It has felt very, very just out there for me. And so it's not been something that has aligned with me. And so when I started to try and get into emotion work, I knew a lot of people felt the same way. And it's been crazy to me. I have worked with so many guy clients lately. And I shout out to the guys, because so many of you guys are understanding the importance of our emotions. Like, we can only do our way through life to a certain point, and then things start to happen, and our world starts to reflect that. And so our bodies start to break down, our relationships start to break down, and doing more, trying to figure out, try to understand, actually puts us more at a deficit. And so learning about our emotions and taking care of ourselves in this new way, that is not a remedy, but that is the next step that I think so many people need to take. And I say that with so much love and care, just like that was the case for me, is I had done all of the things, I could check off all the boxes, but there was more that I needed to become in touch with, and that is my emotion work. And so I heard this analogy recently, and you guys know that I love stories, you know that I love analogies. And so I want to bring this to you guys as a way for you guys to understand why this is so important for us to not understand, but to become more in tune with our emotions. So if you think about illnesses, we have this, so many people are, becoming more and more about the healing journey with our bodies, taking more of a holistic approach to it, which I think is awesome and amazing. But for most people, when we become sick, we don't just sit there and trying to understand it. We're like, oh, who did I touch? Where did I get this from? We really do try and take care of ourselves, right? If we get sick and have a cold, we're not like, oh, I need to go run a marathon, or I need to go work in the office. Maybe some of you guys are. Maybe I'm actually thinking it back to many years ago when I actually did kind of do that a lot. But for the most part, when we are feeling sick, the way that we help ourselves get through that is actually by resting, by slowing down, by just being in tune with what we need in that moment. And I think the same approach can be so well used when it comes to our emotions. The understander in us, the one that's trying to figure it out, is always wanting to try and figure out our emotions. Where does this come from? Why do I have this? And while I love those kind of questions, I think there's a time and a place for them. when we are in the middle of trying to heal and when we are in the middle of trying to feel in different ways, trying to understand them is actually going to make us be sicker. If you could bring in that analogy a little bit more, it actually puts us more in resistance to our emotions. We want to learn how to just be with what is there. If we are feeling a lot of anxiety or a lot of insecurity, I know that one's a lot of people have mentioned that one to me lately, is they're feeling a lot of insecurities in their relationships, in their life. And the doer in us, the understander in us, the mind in us wants to try and figure it out, wants to try and understand it, wants to try and solve for it in some way, fix it, right? Go fix the relationships, go fix what's going on with me. And what I would offer is that instead of trying to fix our emotions or try to understand them, can we just sit with insecurity? Can we just feel it? And I'm not saying that we have to sit there on the couch and be miserable in the way of like only listening to our emotions. I think it comes in spurts in time. I think about like kind of taking a nap is like I can lay on my bed and I can just feel this insecurity. I don't need to understand it. I don't need to, try and fix it. I can just feel insecure. Now, for a lot of you guys, this is even a gap of like, well, what does that mean to just feel this insecurity? And I've done a lot of podcasts on this, but just for the sake of you being with me right now, I want you to go inside your body. I actually use this a lot, even when I am feeling sick. If I have back pain, learning how to just feel back pain is actually really, really powerful to do. So if you have a back pain, let's just go there for a second. If you have back pain of some kind, if you can go and pinpoint where you are feeling your back pain and you just go into your body and you just sit there and experience it, like, oh my gosh, I feel it in my lower part of my spine. It's this burning, it's this pulsing, it's this tension. And you just sit there and you focus on it and you just kind of breathe into it. You can actually empower yourself to show yourself like, this is amazing. Your body is taking care of you. It's actually not a problem. It's when we resist it. It's when we try to overthink it. It's when we try to solve for it, right? That it creates the problem. And the same thing for insecurity. When I can go in and I can just feel insecure. Now, I will tell you, this is not the case for everybody, but when I've done this for myself to start off, a lot of people like to do, what color is it? What shape is it? Where is it out in your body? And I challenge you to try that. I think it's, again, not one size fits all with emotion work. But for me, that didn't work very well. So I like to just go in and like just picture a smaller version of me. This is where inner child work and emotion work are so beautiful together. And so I like to picture where a little insecure of me is. And for me, a lot of the times it's all just up in my chest, it's in my stomach, and I just see her. Now, this can take some time just to be able to see her, especially if you're not familiar with this, if you're very much a logical person, you're wanting to understand it, you're trying to figure it out. This surrendering and letting yourself just see what is meant to come up may take some time. But the more that I can sit there with my insecurity and not try and solve for it, not try to understand it, just see her, everything changes. Now, it doesn't feel the greatest. I'm not sitting there and being like, oh my gosh, I love this feeling of insecurity. No, it actually is a very foreign, uncomfortable place for me to be. But that is so much more productive. You talk about being productive. That is so much more productive for me to sit and just be with this emotion than trying to understand it, then trying to figure it out, then trying to change my circumstances in some way. Our emotions are there for a purpose. And I say that with a caveat of like, you don't need to figure out the purpose all of the time, right? That's where the how comes in of like, well, then I got to figure out why it's here, right? But no, I think of it as just sometimes they just need to be seen and acknowledged. The other day, actually, this has been a couple days that's been happening, but my kids are all back in school. I'm sure a lot of you guys can resonate with this. A lot of it, my kids are back in school. Classes have changed. They kind of changed them up at the semester break. Why, I don't know, but that's what they do down here for some reason. So several of my kids have gotten a change up in their schedules, which means a change up in their classes and who they're with. And I have one who has been very, very frustrated with this, coming home and saying like, I have nobody in my class and I hate school and it's so boring. And what's the point of this? And it was very interesting to me that yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. When she came home, she was very emotional. And the doer in me, the fixer in me, the understander in me, that started coming out with all of these different ideas and just thought processes. And hey, you know what? And when I was in high school, I didn't have any classes with my friends. Like I was trying to help her to see it in a new way. And I had the best of intentions, you guys. It's not like we're doing this from malicious intentions. I had the best of intentions. And I was trying to sit there like, well, you get to choose this. And at one point, she's just crying and she's getting upset. Like she's really getting mad at me for even trying to talk to her about this. But she finally was just like, stop telling me to just change my thoughts. And she kept crying. And I was kind of getting really, really frustrated with this. But at one point, she gets up and she walks into the hallway, and my older daughter goes and finds her and just gives her the biggest hug. And it was later on that the daughter that was crying came out and said, you know what, sometimes I just need a hug. I don't need you to tell me that it's my thoughts. I don't need you to tell me that, you had the same thing. I just need you to just see me and to acknowledge me. And that was such a powerful reminder to me that even though coaching is so beautiful, even though knowing my thoughts are powerful, and even though, I could have some positive insights, the same with our emotions, it's sometimes all it needs to be is just seen and acknowledged. And that we can learn to just hug this insecurity, this whatever emotion is that's coming up, and just sit with it. It doesn't need to be solved. It doesn't need anything else from us. Now, again, it doesn't mean that it changes the circumstances, that today when she woke up for school, that she's super excited to go to school because she got a big hug. No, she's still feeling this way, but learning to just feel with and be with our emotions can be such a powerful place to be. Because again, our emotions can't be solved. That's the craziest thing. We think they can, and that's where we actually cause more problems for ourselves, right? We try and solve for them by thinking other thoughts or whatever, but our emotions don't need solutions. More often than not, we just need to treat them like we would an illness, seeing them, being with them, resting with them. And I'm not saying that we need to do nothing all day long, right? That's sometimes where the extremes in us come in, the all or nothing part of us comes in and is like, okay, well, then that means I just have to lay on my bed and I just have to feel the insecurity. No, you can still show up in life, whatever that looks like, but just allow the insecurity. Don't solve for it. Love yourself through it. Give yourself a big hug and say, like, I get you. I feel you. You are feeling insecure. I totally understand. This is how we can learn how to connect to ourselves more. Connect to what you hear oftenly called is that inner child work, emotion work. And that's why I love what my coaching does is it kind of pairs a lot of these different modalities together. Inner child work, emotion work, somatic work, thought work, it all comes together. Because I don't, again, think one works for everything. Just like my daughter was trying to tell me yesterday of like, stop telling me your perspective, stop trying to solve for it. Learning to have just compassion for ourselves, learning to just sit with ourselves, learning to just be there is so powerful to do. But the doer in us, the understander in us, that is very uncomfortable to not try and offer up solutions. The thing that I've been playing around with is actually the more we try to solve for something, it actually creates more problems. Like if I was to go and run with, bronchitis or something like that, my brain's like, oh, this is going to solve for the problem. And actually, no, it creates more problems, right? Creates more suffering with it. The greatest cause of our suffering is actually trying to get out of suffering. So the more we can learn to just sit with our emotions, the more we can just learn to sit with whatever is coming up, the more powerful it will be. Kind of what I was mentioning last week on the podcast, where I kind of leaned into that this last year, the last part of the year, when I was having a lot of suffering coming on, I didn't try and solve for it. It was very uncomfortable for me to do, but I actually had way more healing by just letting myself sit with where I was at, letting myself heal with where I was at. That was way better off than me trying to create another solution, trying to outdo what it was that I was thinking and feeling. Sitting with our emotions, building our capacity to sit with our emotions is everything. And it is a skill that we have to learn. And that is what I get to do with my clients all of the time. And I can tell you guys are so good at this, so good at this. They are very analytical, but for some reason they have a bigger capacity to understanding this emotion work, something that I'm trying to become better with. But that is something that I love to do with my clients. So kind of end this off. I mentioned this last week is we are going to be doing a whole workshop on this. And it's not going to be diving too much into the inner child work or the healing work, but we're going to start to dip our toe into creating this year with our emotions. So if this is something that has resonated with you, maybe you've heard inner child work, maybe you've heard of emotion work, you're struggling with the how, you're struggling with like, what is that gap? Like I understand this, or maybe you don't. That's the thing, right? We don't need to understand this all the time, but you're curious with it. It feel like this calling to you of like, I'm curious about this more. That's where I started. It was like, I don't like this emotion stuff, but I'm curious about it. If that's where you're at, I encourage you guys to come to this workshop. It's a free workshop. Doesn't matter if you've been a part of my group before. Doesn't matter if I've coached you before. It's something that you can walk away with a lot of value with, a lot of insights with. And that's going to be on January 26th of this month. That is on a Friday. And we're going to be doing it from 9 to noon, 3 whole hours. Now, I don't know. I kind of said maybe we'll end it a little bit early, but I want you to schedule 3 hours of us to be together. We're going to workshop this. We're going to work through those thoughts. We're going to notice them. I'm going to show you how to handle those thoughts and those emotions that come up for us. Instead of letting it be a blockade, instead of trying to outdo it in some way, we're going to learn how to see our emotions. We're going to learn how to see those obstacles that come up and do things in a different way and get different results this year. And then after that, in the middle of that whole workshop, we're going to be talking about a new calm connection project that I cannot even tell you how excited I am about. And this is going to be something different. I've talked to a couple of my clients about this already, that it's a fluid thing. I don't have this all figured out. I don't understand exactly what this picture looks like. I have been letting clients give me their feedback. I have been letting other people give me their feedback. So this project is fluid, it's evolving, it's changing, because that's where I'm at, that's where you're at. It's not something that I'm going to tell you I have it all figured out. But I am so excited about the things that I am bringing to the table when it comes to coaching. I've seen a gap when it comes to coaching as far as the value that's there, as the impact that's there, the relationships that are there. And so this Calm Connection project is going to bring in those different elements, and it's going to have relationships, and it's going to have a community, and it's going to have the ability for you to get the coaching that you need, but maybe with not the big investment that a lot of times is required or is asked of us when it comes to investing in ourselves. So whether you decide to go further with that, that's not a problem. I want you to at least show up to January 26th and come and get some of your questions answered. There's going to be coaching the whole time. And I just want to help see you and help you see yourself. Be more connected to yourself. Bring more awareness to your emotions this year. As many of you guys know, that's my word for this year is connection. And that I'm so excited to kind of go into, figure out all the different aspects of it. And that is me trying to connect more to my emotions as well. So if you're curious about this, then sign up. Even if you can't attend live, you want to get the replay, I promise you that. So sign up in the link below, but let's go just practice being with our emotions. Stop trying to understand them. Stop trying to figure them out. Again, there's a time and place for that. But in the moment, it's just learning to be with it. Letting yourself just heal by being with the emotions. There's a time and place for figuring out the why, but not in the middle of it. So go practice that this week. Let me know your obstacles that come up, and then maybe we'll do another whole podcast on that as well. But I want to hear from you and your insights. What are you taking away from this? And I would love for you guys to screenshot this, screenshot the YouTube channel, screenshot the podcast, go post it on Instagram, tag me in it, because I would love to be able to shout you out as well. We want to let more people know about this and let people know what is possible for them. Our emotions are here for a reason, and our mind and our heart are meant to work together, to be connected, not separate entities where we only think through our life. It's meant to be a balance of both. A balance, and I say that very, very carefully. It doesn't need to be balanced in a perfect way, but just a balance of bringing both in. The language of both is so powerful. All right, you guys, have a fantastic rest of your week. Go sign up for the January 26th. I want to see you there, and we'll talk to you guys next week.